Yo, what's happening, guys? What's going on YouTube? You guys have tuned into Rules for Rebels, and I just wanted to make a quick video. Not going to keep you guys too long here tonight, but the documentary Playing with Fire is set to release tomorrow. For any of you guys out there who are interested in the FIRE movement or the FIRE lifestyle, financial independence movement, this is a documentary about FIRE, about the FIRE lifestyle. It's the first of its kind. Now, for anybody who doesn't know what FIRE is, it's because those of you guys who are familiar with FIRE, you've probably heard about this documentary if you listen to like the Bigger Pockets podcast or any of the number of like FIRE and personal finance related podcasts out there. You're probably at least familiar with this documentary. It's actually based on a book, I believe, called Playing with Fire, which is for sale on Amazon. It's like 12 bucks for the paperback. If anyone's interested in checking it out, I'll link to that below. Tomorrow, actually, on Amazon, Google Play, Vimeo, and a number of other platforms, this documentary is going to be released. If you are like totally clueless about what the FIRE movement is, let me just give you kind of a brief intro. If you watch my channel, you're probably at least loosely familiar with it because it is something that I've made a number of videos on in the past, and it's kind of a lifestyle that I'm interested in kind of living as well. And it's something I mention from time to time. But FIRE stands for Financial Independence Retiring Early. And different people kind of have their own versions of FIRE, just like minimalism, right? Minimalism doesn't have one definition. Being a minimalist to some people means I only own 10 items. And if I buy an 11th item, I got to throw out one of the existing 10 items I have. To other people, it's I want my whole life to fit in a backpack. To other people, it just means being a little bit less cluttered, right? And FIRE is kind of the same thing. The general idea behind FIRE, it stands for Financial Independence Retiring Early, and it can almost be broken into two parts. The FI, which is financial independence, and then the RE, which is retiring early. Just as kind of a general rule of thumb, people who are interested or living a FIRE lifestyle try to focus on upping their income, cutting their expenses, and they try to live on half their income. So if you make $50,000 a year, you live on 25, the other 25 you invest it. And as opposed to having like a 50-year retirement goal from the time you start working, by saving half your income and due to the power of investments and compounding, you can cut that 50 years down to about 17 years, if not even earlier. Now, some people want to retire early, and that's kind of the main goal. For other people, they just want the financial independence aspect of it. And being financially independent means that you have the power in your life to make your own choices. I'll give you one of my favorite FIRE stories. And this is actually from a FIRE podcast. This is a real guy. He graduated from pharmacy school, got his first job. Pharmacists make great money, but they also work really, really long hours. I believe there's a shortage of pharmacists. A lot of pharmacies are open 24 hours, so you can imagine it's tough to staff places 24 hours. And they tend to work a lot. I know one of my mom's friends is a pharmacist, and is just always working. And he had married, his wife was from Kenya, and they wanted to go over to Kenya to visit her family, and he'd never met them, obviously. And it was just a really important trip, so he went to his bosses, and I think he only had a week vacation or 2 weeks vacation. But he said, look, I want to go to Kenya for 3 weeks. It doesn't really make sense to go for a couple days or a week. This is a really important trip. Like, I'd be happy to use 2 weeks of vacation and take a week unpaid. I'll do it all unpaid. Like, I just need the time. And I guess his boss or his manager said, let me talk to the managers, let me talk to whoever, and let me see, and I'll get back to you. So about a week goes by, he goes back to this pharmacist, and he says, you know what, we talked it over, and it's just not in the best interest of the company to let you take this vacation. And so he sat there and he said, you know what, I don't think it's in my best interest to continue working here. And I forget the rest of the story. I forget whether the boss caved and let him take the vacation or whether he walked out. But the reason he was able to do that is because he was financially independent. If he had an expensive mortgage and a wife and a baby, and he only had $600 in the bank, well, guess I can't go on my vacation. Guess I got to come in here. He basically had to do whatever his boss or the company said, but because he was financially independent and he could afford to sit out of the workforce for 6 months or a year potentially while he looked for a new job. I'm sure as a pharmacist it's easy to get another job, and he could have picked up another high-paying job like that. But had he not been financially independent, he would have had to stay with the job. But because he knew he had money in the bank, his expenses were reasonable, he had a skill set that was in demand, he could pretty much call the shots in his own life. And to me, that's one of the biggest aspects about fire or the financial independence aspect of it. Imagine if you got a job, you took on a new job, and you maybe weren't making as much as you wanted, but the company, the boss, the manager, whatever, said, you know what, work really hard, and like next year we'll give you a raise, and there's a lot of growth opportunities here. And a year goes by, and you're the first guy in, you're the last guy out. You work really hard. You can, I'm not sure what your industry is, but sales are up 30%, traffic's up 30%, things are running a lot more efficiently. You have a lot to back up kind of all the success that you've had in that role over the year. And a year from now, you go back to that boss, that manager, that CEO, and you say, hey, you know, when you hired me, I told you I wasn't really happy with the pay. You told me about the room for growth. You said, prove myself. A year's gone by. Here's my numbers. Here's what I brought to the company. I think I deserve X, Y, Z amount of money. If you were to say, sorry, pal, just not in the budget. If you're not financially independent, you pretty much just got to suck it up, and I guess I'll just continue doing this shitty job for the same pay. But when you are financially independent, you know, fuck you, I'm out of here. And it just puts a lot of power in your court. So fire, generally speaking, again, is people looking to retire early. A lot of the fire stories out there are people who retired at 32, 35, 36, 38, 42, whatever it may be, but retiring earlier than most people, and either taking on a passion project, doing volunteer work, maybe going back and getting into teaching or something that's more fulfilling to you, or just fishing for the rest of your life. Whatever it is you want to do, that's kind of what the fire movement is all about, and that's what this documentary is about. So I did think it was kind of ironic that they made it a documentary for cheap people who don't spend money on unnecessary things. Seems like a little bit off kilter with who the target audience is. This is going to be, let's see where it is. It's and fire's kind of become kind of a household name. Like I do a lot of, I subscribe to the Haro emails 3 times a day where reporters are looking for quotes for stories. I would say at least 2 to 3 times a week there's some reporter from Yahoo Finance or the New York Times or New York Post or whatever who's looking for a quote on somebody living a fire lifestyle. So it is becoming kind of more common, more popular. I'm sure a lot of people are at least familiar with it. So there's a film, there's a book, and there's a podcast. And this film, like I think they first started talking about this movie or this documentary about 2 years ago. And every couple months I'll be like, I wonder if that's been released, and I'll go searching for it, and it's never out, But tomorrow, November 19th, it actually is being released. I don't know if people do a copyright claim, so I'm not going to play the trailer, but I will link to this site where you can watch the trailer, and then, let's see, the documentary. So you can pre-order it. Again, it's on iTunes, Amazon, Google Play, and Vimeo. I don't think it's going to be included with Amazon Prime. I'm assuming you're going to have to buy it. And if you want to watch a trailer, you can watch a trailer right here. But I'll link to this site for anybody who's interested in checking it out, wants a little bit more info. And then I'll also link you to where you can watch it on Amazon, along with the book and the podcast as well for anybody who this sounds appealing or attractive to and would like to learn a little bit more. I think I probably will give it a watch, and when I do, I'll make a follow-up video letting you guys know what I thought, whether it's worth paying. And I have no idea what it's going to cost, or even necessarily what it's going to be about. Like they show Mr. Money Mustache in the previews, and they show a couple different people's stories. So I'm not sure if this is following one guy's story or if it's kind of covering the entire movement. But so far, I know they let some people kind of preview it. And so far, it's got 25 5-star reviews. So I'll check it out tomorrow. I'll try to make a follow-up video, if not tomorrow, on Wednesday, I believe it'll be. Or no, maybe it'll be, I don't know what day it is today. But it comes out the 19th. I'll try to make a video either the 19th or, if not the 19th, the 20th, and let you know what I thought. If any of you guys have anything you want to chat about with the fire movement, fire lifestyle, if you've read the book, listened to the podcast, seen the documentary, you got anything to add, drop it below. If you're not subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button below. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Later.